Chapter 196. The Marquis Madam stood rooted to the ground in shock. The melon seeds fell out of the mouths of the onlookers. They stared wide-eyed at Tang Guo, as if to confirm that she wasn't joking just now. The Marquis Madam opened her mouth to say something, but when she met Tang Guo's half-smiling gaze, she couldn't say anything. Second Miss Tang, your request is a bit too much. After mulling over it for a while, the Marquis Madam found something she could say. I am the Marquis Madam, how can you make me marry someone else? I don't know what Second Miss Tang's motive is. He seemed to be scrutinizing her as if he was suspecting that she was up to something. Tang Guo smiled. Marquis Madam, remember, it was you who came begging me. It's you who can do anything you say. I put forward my own request, it's your choice whether to accept it or not. She had never thought of helping Zheng Song grow his family jewels. Tang Huan had done something that made her feel carefree. The Marquis Madam's lips drooped, her face a bit pale. Impossible. She never wanted to see Tang Guo again. When she thought of losing her cultivation and being abused by that kind of person, the soles of her feet turned cold. She hurriedly led the womenfolk of the Marquis mansion back. The onlookers looked at the smug expression on Tang Guo's face and felt a chill run down their backs. This person really holds a grudge. In the future, they must not offend her. The Marquis mansion was a good example. Cousin. Hearing Yi Ju's drawl, Tang Guo's smile disappeared. She raised her head. Cousin, what is it? Yi Ju directly squatted down beside her and put his hand on her knee. He even rubbed against her arm like a puppy trying to please its owner. Cousin, I really like you. Yi Ju's eyes were sparkling. There was only Tang Guo in them. His heart was beating so fast, beating only for her. He held her hand and touched it beside his face. I really like you. He liked her so much that his soul had been stolen away by his cousin. Spectators, little prince, what are you doing? We're still here. Cousin, can you agree to get engaged with me again? Tang Guo lowered her head and pulled her hand away. Seeing Yi Ju's disappointed look, she put her hand on his head and patted it. She opened her mouth and said, Cousin, be good. If you're not, I'll ignore you. Cousin, you have to know how to be content. Yi Ju whimpered and said pitifully, but I really want to marry my cousin. I want to have her babies. Little prince, you're really an eyesore. I can't stand it anymore. Cousin, I was wrong. It's best if I can change for the better. If you don't answer me today, I'll continue to work hard tomorrow. The onlookers thought that Yi Ju would be disappointed, but they did not expect him to stand up and return to his previous state. He was still the high and mighty little prince. But there was something else in his eyes. It was Tang Guo. The way he looked at her was filled with gentleness all the time. The handsome young master in the flamboyant red robe had a bright smile on his face. He crossed his arms and looked at the equally flamboyant woman beside him with sparkling eyes. His smile suddenly disappeared and his expression became solemn and holy. Guo, I'll continue to work hard. One day, you'll agree to be touched by my sincerity. On that day, I'll personally put on the red wedding dress for you and hold your hand as we walk into the wedding hall. We'll swear to the heavens that we'll never leave each other. System, host, cousin is so serious. How can you bear to do that? Tang Guo smiled and said softly, I'll only be good to him in this life. System, motherfucker, host. Peak. Chapter 197. Ever since that day, the Marquis's wife never came to find Tang Guo again. During her time in the imperial palace, she lived a very comfortable life. Ever since Yi Ju understood his feelings, he treated Tang Guo with utmost care. Even Yi Fan was very surprised. That unreliable younger brother of his only cared about cultivation. He never knew that Yi Ju could be so good to a woman. Tang Guo's attitude confused everyone. On the one hand, she treated Yi Ju really well. Aside from the fact that she didn't agree to be with him, almost everyone thought that they were a couple. Yi Ju failed again and again. The more he fought, the more spirited he became. No matter how many times Tang Guo rejected him, he would be depressed for half a day at the beginning, but after half a day, he would recover. This kind of perseverance was worthy of being able to cultivate to a level that many people couldn't reach in their entire lives. In the blink of an eye, another 2 months passed. Cousin, you're going out to train? Yi-ju expressed that he was very happy. He was also a bit tired of staying in the imperial palace. He carefully asked, "Are you bringing me along?" With that pitiful look, if she didn't bring him along, Tangwa couldn't guarantee that he would cry in the next instant. What kind of person was Yi-ju? In front of her, he was rather childish. In front of others, he was extremely arrogant. In front of his opponents, he was cold and heartless. He never hid what kind of person he was. He always showed it very clearly. "I'm bringing you. If not you, who would I bring?" Tangwa found it funny. "Don't tell me you're going to bring a dog." "No. Even if you bring a dog, it can only be me," Yi-ju retorted. Then, he revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. "Only me? Only you?" Yi-ju felt that he was one step closer to his happy days. His cousin was only willing to bring him along. Didn't that mean that he was the most important person in her heart? "Cousin, let me tell you something interesting. It happened yesterday. I'm sure you'll be very happy after hearing it." Yi-ju's lips curled into a confident smile. Tangwa was very happy to hear this news. Without waiting for Tangwa to ask, he started to speak. "The matter at the Marquis's estate. The second son of the Marquis's estate is causing trouble again. Cousin, guess who he provoked this time?" Faced with Tangwa's puzzled gaze, Yi-ju couldn't wait any longer and answered directly, "Bao Ling-er." "Ha!" Tangwa laughed. She was very happy to hear the news. What happened? Zheng Song no longer had his family jewels, and his image was almost ruined by the incident with Lu Yinyang. Now, no one was willing to marry their family's daughter over. Even many of the maids in the Marquis's estate were unwilling to serve Zheng Song. Not only was Zheng Song a pervert, but he was also a rootless person. Would he have a future if he followed him? The most important thing was that this freak had no roots and no talent for cultivation. Following him was a dead end. It was Tang Huan who did it. Yi-ju couldn't help but laugh. Cousin's guess was right. After the two of them fell out, Bao Ling-er couldn't stand Tang Huan and kept finding trouble with him. Recently, she even spread the news about some of the things that Tang Huan did in Ping City. There were both real and fake things. In short, it wasn't a good thing, causing Tang Huan's reputation to plummet. The reason why Tang Huan was angered was because Bao Ling-er said to the noble ladies in the circle that Tang Huan was shameless. He didn't even have a marriage agreement with Little Seven, yet he moved to Little Seven's residence. The scolding was very unpleasant. "I won't learn it and dirty cousin's ears." Tang Huan naturally wouldn't give up. He actually learned from cousin's method last time. However, he got someone to trick Bao Ling-er into going to a place where no one was around. He knocked her out and sent her to the second son's room. Peak. Chapter 198. Bao Ling-er is not concubine Lu. She has cultivation, so when she was drugged, she had no way to resist the humiliation of the second son of the House of Marquis. Once the effects of the medicine passed, she paralyzed the second son of the House of Marquis with a few swords and picked out the tendons of his hands and feet. The corner of Yi-ju's mouth raised into a very beautiful smile. At this moment, the red robe on his body made him even more outstanding. After that, she escaped while no one was paying attention. Perhaps she knew that if she returned to the Bao family would not protect her. Perhaps her cultivation would even be crippled, so she resented Tang Huan in her heart. The smart choice to escape was most likely to wait for the right time before coming back to take revenge on Tang Huan. As Yi-ju spoke, he saw Tangwa's eyes flickering with a hidden luster. He moved closer to her ear. "I asked someone to watch her whereabouts and erase the traces of her escape. I guarantee that the Bao family, the House of Marquis and Tang Huan won't be able to find her. What to do next, how to use her will depend on cousin. What do you want to do? Leave it to me. Let him be the one to do this kind of unscrupulous thing." It was his honor to help his cousin do bad things. Yi-ju's beautiful peach blossom eyes blinked, as if he wanted to make the more and more stunning woman in front of him faint. His expectant look made Tangwa laugh, and her hands itched to touch his forehead. "Cousin, do you also think that I'm good-looking?" Knowing that he would say that since she was so good-looking, Why not take her home and look at her whenever she wanted? Tangwa gently pushed him away. It was impossible to get married. It was impossible to get married for the rest of her life. Cousin, give her a chance to grow. Tangwa pursed her lips and said with a smile, let her grow faster, at least faster than Tang Huan, just a little taller than Tang Huan. They were all people who had harmed her, so there was no reason for Bao Linga to take revenge so easily. As for Tang Huan, whatever he would experience in the future, he would bear with it. What a good idea. Cousin and I thought of the same thing. Cousin, where are we going to train next? Tangwa smiled but did not say anything. Naturally, she was going to find the opportunity that belonged to her original body. In this world, if she did not immediately choose to go to the next world, she would have to live for at least a few hundred years, which was the age that the original body should have lived. She didn't plan to go to the next world directly. Staying here was quite interesting. Other than the fact that the family Tang people were a little annoying, the world was pretty good. The system said faintly, it's your cousin, right? Host, you're obviously greedy for your cousin's love. So what? The system was exasperated. When the host decided to be shameless, no one could compare to him. Who isn't greedy for a sincere heart? Tangwa communicated with the system in a low voice. I've always been greedy for sincerity. Haven't you always known that? How many worlds have I drifted with you? I can't even remember. Sometimes, I wonder what the result will be if we continue on this path. Will there be a result? Suddenly sensing Tangwa's confusion, the system couldn't bear it. It wanted to say something, but in the end, it didn't know what to say. He couldn't give an answer, and he didn't know why he had to go through all of this. Only by experiencing one or two true hearts from these tens of thousands of small worlds, I feel that it's necessary to live. Tangwa's lips curled up into a gentle smile. Didn't you ask me why someone would fall in love with me if I wanted them to? Because it's a heart for a heart. Why do I have to go to Heavenly Spring to lie down for a few days every time? It's because I'm still a little tired from giving, and I need some time to forget. Chapter 199. You're asking me why I didn't agree to cousin's request directly? Because I hold grudges. System, you've accompanied me to so many worlds. Don't you know that I hold grudges? I've already inherited all the emotions of the original owner. I can't block out what he did. Moreover, I've given every person who made a mistake a chance to correct themselves. They were the ones who didn't want it. The system couldn't refute. It wanted to say that Tangwa was a scoundrel, but what she said was the truth. If you can get what you want just because you regret what you did, apologize, and do everything you can to redeem yourself, would there still be so many regrets in this world? Tangwa clutched her chest. The original owner chased after Yi Ju for hundreds of years in a world. In the end, she died to save Yi Ju. She didn't even get Yi Ju's feelings. What a pity. Because of Tang Huan's rebirth in a world, her fate was even more frustrated. In the end, she wanted to see Yi Ju but couldn't. In the end, she died with regret. I'm a little angry about her experience. I asked him from the start. He didn't choose to stop me from breaking off the engagement. So I'm very sorry. No matter how good I am to him, no matter how much he loves me, and no matter how much I like him, I won't marry him. Because of his sincerity, I will also give him my sincerity. The system felt pity for Yi Ju. It couldn't help but scold the host for being a pervert. If cousin had chosen to stop you from the start and wanted to try with you, host, would you have been with him? Yes, I would have loved him for the rest of my life. The system fell silent. It suddenly understood Tangwa's thoughts. However, it still felt that her thoughts were extreme and the way she did things was very perverted. How could there be such heart-wrenching? Cousin. Tangwa came back to her senses and saw Yi Ju's worried expression. What's wrong, cousin? What are you thinking about? Did you encounter something bad? Tangwa laughed when she saw his cousin helping her solve it. She shook her head and said no. She met Yi Ju's black and white eyes and suddenly asked, Cousin, if you can't achieve what you want in this lifetime, will you still choose to continue? Will you regret it? Yi Ju didn't understand why Tangwa asked that, but he still nodded firmly. I won't regret it. Even if I know the result, I will continue. Cousin, don't tell me that there's no result in this life. That's right, there won't be any results in this lifetime. Cousin, it's not too late for you to regret. Yiju hummed and asked again, then will cousin like someone else? No, I like my cousin the most. Woo woo. She was really happy and sad at the same time. What kind of complicated feeling was this? His cousin couldn't be anyone else's, but she just didn't want to be with him. She even said that she liked him. Then I'll accept it. Yiju was Yiju. Even if Tangguo made it clear that there would be no result in the end. He was only unhappy for a while. After that, he treated Tangguo as well as he should. Of course, Tangguo was also good to him. Yiju just didn't understand. Tangguo was clearly so good to him and liked him. Why wasn't she willing to be together with him? Could it be that his cousin really held a grudge to this extent? How could he know that there were all kinds of reasons from his previous life? In the following time, Tangguo went to the place where the original body should have obtained the opportunity according to the plot and took it away. Tangguo followed closely behind her. Seeing that the opportunity had already been taken away, his heart was extremely complicated. He was more and more afraid of Tangguo, but there was nothing he could do. Chapter 200. Why has Huana been so depressed recently? Yi Yang didn't quite understand. Recently, Tang Huan's fortuitous encounters were not bad. She had obtained a lot of good things and her cultivation had also increased a lot. Are you still saying those things to the people outside? Tang Huan shook her head. No. Then why? Yi Yang asked with concern. Tang Huan looked at Yi Yang who kept asking her questions. She couldn't help but think of how Yi Ju was obedient in front of Tangguo. His status was clearly noble, second only to His Majesty the Night Emperor. In front of Tangguo, he was so submissive and did all kinds of pleasing actions to make Tangguo happy. He even threw good things to Tangguo as if they didn't cost money. He even blacklisted the family Tang, the House of Marquis and the Bo family for Tangguo. These three families couldn't enter the palace now. Whenever someone said that Tangguo wasn't tactful and wasn't worthy of the little prince, Yi Ju would rush up, roll up his sleeves and beat the person up without caring about his image. Although it was a little childish, no matter what he did, no matter which side he was, he never hid it. Instead, he showed it in front of Tangguo. She was really envious. She never knew that Yi Ju would be such a person when he was serious and moved. And Yi Yang. He liked her and always thought of her, but Yi Yang was only half sincere to her. As for the other half, it was Yi Yang's ambition. There were many things that Yi Yang would not tell her. He would even hide some of his feelings for her. From the beginning, he had some motives for her. Of course, it couldn't be compared to Yi Ju's pure feelings. She didn't want to think about these things, but when it came to Tangguo, she couldn't help but think about it. Why was she still inferior to Tangguo even though she had been reborn? And the fortuitous opportunities that belonged to Tangguo were all taken away by the other party in advance. Could it be that it was really a mistake that she didn't make a move that time, which led to Tangguo and Yi Ju being together? The more she thought about it, the more Tang Huan regretted it. She thought that there would be a very important opportunity soon, and that was the divine beast egg. She couldn't wait for the time to be up. She had to get it first. This was a divine beast egg. She would never let Tangguo take it again. Ah Yang, I suddenly have a feeling that it's coming from that direction, as if something is summoning me. Tang Huan pretended to be surprised and stood up. Ah Yang, let's go take a look immediately. Yi Yang did not doubt that Tang Huan would often feel this way. Almost every time he came out to train after knowing Tang Huan would have this kind of accurate intuition. But there had never been a time when Tang Huan was so pleasantly surprised. Yi Yang's eyes flashed. Perhaps this was really a very important opportunity. All right, we'll be right there. According to the discussions of those people in his previous life, in this life, Tang Huan had already explored the place where the divine beast egg had descended. This time, it was a walk in the park for Yi Yang. They arrived there in just one day. According to the records, there were still 10 days before the birth of the divine beast egg. 10 days in advance, She didn't believe that the divine beast egg would be taken away by Tang Guo. However, when they passed through the forest and prepared to enter the abandoned cave, they vaguely smelled a fragrance coming from the cave. Tang Huan subconsciously had a bad premonition, and his face became gloomy. She didn't want to believe that someone would come at this time. It definitely wasn't Tang Guo. It definitely wasn't. Chapter 201. Yo, big sister, what a coincidence. You found this place too? Tang Guo raised her eyes and smiled. She didn't have the slightest intention to get up. She sat on the cushion, hugged her knees, and looked at the egg that was being roasted. Oh, the egg was being roasted by Yi Ju. According to Yi Ju's words, how could he let his cousin do such rough work? His cousin only needed to wait and eat. Big sister, you came at the right time. Cousin and I were traveling around when we accidentally found this place. We actually found an egg that looked very delicious, so I asked cousin to help roast it. It's been roasting for a long time. I wonder what kind of demonic beast's egg it is. Tang Guo muttered to herself, then said to Yi Ju, cousin, it's almost cooked, right? Soon, cousin, are you hungry? I'll get you some fruits to eat. Yi Ju really flipped the egg while taking out 2 plates of fruits for Tang Guo. In the end, he said to Yi Yang, I won't prepare any for Xiao Qi and the rest. Xiao Qi should bring these things with her when she goes out. Yi Yang did not speak. In front of Yi Ju, he did not have the qualifications to refute. If Yi Fan was an existence that he could only look up to, then Yi Ju was an existence that he could not surpass. In the past 2 years, he had worked so hard to cultivate, and Tang Huan had fed him spirit pills from time to time. Even now, he was still unable to see through Yi Ju's realm. He had even secretly sent people to probe, but none of the people he sent out returned. It was as if they had disappeared into thin air. At this point, he no longer dared to test Yi Ju. He was even a little afraid that Yi Ju already knew that he was the one who sent those people. Meeting Yi Ju's smile that was not a smile, he had the urge to immediately escape from this place. Second sister, what are you doing? Tang Huan regained his senses and stared at the egg that was about to be cooked. He simply could not believe that the other party had roasted the divine beast egg. That was a divine beast egg. How could she roast the mythical beast's egg so easily without investigating it thoroughly? Tang Huan pursed her lips. If she did not try her best to control herself, she would have blurted out that it was a divine beast egg. How could you roast it and eat it? Cousin, it's cooked, thoroughly cooked. I'll break it open right away and cut some for you on a plate. You can try it first. This egg has a lot of spiritual energy. Eating it will be very beneficial to cousin's cultivation. Tang Huan's eyes were red and her body was trembling. Yi Yang, who was closest to her, noticed it. He vaguely felt that the egg was not simple. Could it be the opportunity that Huana mentioned earlier? But now that the egg was cooked and was about to be eaten, he couldn't ask any more questions. Tang Guo clenched her fists tightly. There was something that made people feel despair and sadness, and that was the divine beast egg in front of her that she had always wanted, but in the end, it was roasted by Tang Guo and Yi Ju. It was such an important thing to her, but the two of them didn't care and roasted it. That's right, the two of them didn't even know that this was a divine beast egg. Tang Huan regained her senses and exhaled heavily. Seeing Tang Guo pick up a piece of snow-white egg and send it to her mouth, she finally said, Second sister, do you know what kind of egg this is? Seeing that Tang Guo was only stunned for a moment, she still put the egg into her mouth. She narrowed her eyes and chewed twice before swallowing it. Tang Huan's heart was bleeding. What egg? But it's quite delicious. Big sister, do you want 2 pieces? Tang Huan, how could she eat it? Second sister, this is a divine beast egg, you actually roasted it. Tang Huan could no longer care about anything else and directly told her the truth. Chapter 202. She didn't believe that Tang Guo would still be so calm after knowing that she had eaten the divine beast egg. Sure enough, when she finished speaking, the cave became incomparably quiet. Yi Yang was shocked. He stared at the cooked egg with a complicated expression on his face. Divine beast egg. That was a divine beast egg. It was actually roasted and eaten. Tang Huan originally thought that Tang Huan would reveal an extremely regretful expression, but Tang Guo only stayed for a moment before returning to normal and even ate 2 more pieces. This time, he ate a little slower and looked very satisfied. I was wondering why the taste was so good. So it's a divine beast egg. Tang Guo immediately gave an empty plate to Yi Ju. Cousin, it's been hard on you, you should eat some too. Divine beast eggs are rare, maybe this is the only time in your life. Big sister, since this is a divine beast egg, I won't share it with you. Actually, I didn't really treat you to food. Tang Huan was so angry that he was about to die. He stared straight at Tang Guo, all of his expressions unconcealed. At this moment, she truly hated Tang Guo to the core. Why? She had clearly restarted her life, but why was she still unable to compare to Tang Guo? Everything was suppressed by the other party. She had obtained her father's favor, allowed her concubine mother to survive, and finally obtained her father's favor. In the family, Tang Guo was clearly an invisible person. Clearly, all of her father's resources were biased towards her. Clearly, she was the first to obtain Tang Guo's most important alchemy space. Why? Why was it that after she had done so much, Tang Guo was still so outstanding? Although the other party's reputation was not good, when Tang Guo's talent was mentioned before, everyone said that it was not bad. The Tang clan had also allocated Tang Guo's resources. Yes, it was the Tang clan. If it wasn't for the Tang clan's meddling in other people's business, wouldn't Tang Guo not have so many cultivation resources, and wouldn't be able to reach where she is today? Tang Huan hated the Tang clan. If she had tried to rope in the Tang clan from the start instead of staying away from them, wouldn't Tang Guo be just an ordinary person now? Yi Ju looked at Tang Huan's ferocious eyes with some displeasure. Little 7, family's eldest miss doesn't like to stay here. Hurry up and take her away. Yi Yang also noticed that something was wrong with Tang Huan. She seemed to have gone mad as she stared at Tang Guo. That kind of undisguised hatred made him feel very apprehensive. According to his investigation, Tang Guo should not have secretly dealt with Tang Huan. Tang Guo's actions were all open and above board. Whether it was in the past or before, she did not hide it at all. She was full of the arrogance of a young lady of an aristocratic family. It was also because of this that he looked down on Tang Guo. He did not like her arrogant look. Huan let's go. Yi Yang put his arm around Tang Huan's shoulder as if he wanted to take her away. Tang Huan stared at Tang Guo without moving. Her eyes became crazier and crazier, as if she wanted to skin Tang Guo alive. Why is it like this? Tang Guo, why are you better than before? If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have gotten what you wanted. It's all because of me. You can get all of this because of me, do you know? If it weren't for me. Tang Huan seemed to have gone crazy. She looked at Yi Ju. Do you know? If it weren't for me, the man beside you would never look at you in the eye for the rest of his life. He wouldn't, and you would only chase after him forever. You would never be able to get him, never be able to get him. Tang Huan's voice was more like a curse, completely angering Yi Ju. Just as he was about to make a move, Yi Yang knocked Tang Huan unconscious. Imperial uncle, I'm sorry, we'll be leaving first. Peak. Chapter 203. The cave fell into a short silence. Yi Ju was a little angry. If cousin isn't satisfied, I'll go kill her. He wasn't joking. When he said this, it was full of killing intent. Just based on Tang Huan's words of never being able to obtain it, it made him furious. Although he was talking about Tang Guo, when he thought about his current situation, wasn't he only able to look at his cousin and never get her? If he didn't recognize his own feelings, and if his cousin didn't insist on breaking off the engagement with him, would she be like what Tang Huan said, chasing after him for 10 years? And if he ran too fast, he would never be able to see her behind him. Instead, he would think that she was trouble, and he would never be able to see her good side. Thinking of this situation, Yi Ju felt a wave of fear in his heart. If that was really the case, wouldn't his cousin be deeply hurt by him? Thinking of the past 10 years, wasn't he like this as well? No wonder no matter how much his cousin liked him, she was unwilling to marry him. She had already chased after him for more than 10 years. It was tiring enough. He suddenly understood what she meant when she said that she was tired. She was really tired. He had only chased after his cousin for a few months. His cousin was the one who could see his good side, remember his good side, and even treat him well. Other than not agreeing to marry him, his cousin had always been very good to him. He felt the pain of not being able to get what he wanted and was in a kind of sweet pain. As for his cousin, she didn't get any response at all. She chased after him wholeheartedly, and he couldn't see her. She had never stopped to seriously confirm their relationship. He regretted it. His heart ached for his cousin's persistence in the past. He hated himself for being so decisive. He deserved it. He deserved to be punished like this by his cousin. What's wrong? Tangguo was a little strange. Why did this person's eyes turn red all of a sudden? Others wouldn't believe it if she said that the dignified little prince of immortal Ping Country was a strong person. He was also a man who would cry at the slightest provocation. It really made people's worldview change. Cousin. Yiju made a sound and couldn't help but come over to hug her. I just want to hug you for a while to comfort you. I don't mean anything else. Tangguo didn't struggle. All right. Homesick. Yiju didn't know whether to laugh or cry. His cousin had changed. Ever since she broke off the engagement, she was no longer the little girl who chased after him. He regretted it so much. He regretted that he had woken up so late. He had missed her feelings and let her down. Cousin, I won't force you to marry me in the future. From now on, I'll stay by your side. I don't ask for anything. I just want to watch over you, take care of you, and protect you. Okay. Yiju looked at Tangguo pitifully. He hugged her arm and refused to let go. I really won't force you. I don't deserve it. He didn't deserve it. He didn't deserve to have a young lady who used to chase after him so passionately. He owed her more than 10 years of affection, and nothing could make up for it. To think that he thought that treating his cousin well for a few months would make her marry him willingly. What was he thinking? Who did he think he was? He had already broken her cousin's heart, yet he still wanted her to marry him. His cousin probably didn't trust feelings anymore, so she didn't want to marry him. He didn't ask for this anymore. He just wanted to accompany her. From now on, wherever his cousin was, he would be there. As long as she didn't chase him away, he would stay by her side. If she chased him away, he would secretly stay by her side. Peak. Chapter 204. Ever since that day, Yiju's attitude toward Tangguo had changed again. Sure enough, he no longer mentioned marriage. He only silently accompanied her by her side and accompanied her to obtain all the opportunities of the original body. One day, Tangguo took out the mythological beast egg. Yes, it's the mythological beast egg. How could she really eat the divine beast egg? This was the opportunity of the original body. In the original body's memories, this was her companion. How could she eat the original body's companion? The egg that she had eaten was just the egg of a kind of edible demon beast that had been collected in the system space of a certain world. Cousin, you can form a contract with this divine beast egg. She was not prepared to contract it. Even if she could break through the void, she could not stay in this world forever. In this world, Yiju had already accompanied her for 10 years. During these 10 years, she had basically found all the opportunities of the original body, and her strength had also reached the Yuan monarch realm. In 10 years, she had cultivated from a Yuan general to a Yuan monarch. Other than Yiju, no one else had this kind of talent. She had asked Yiju about his cultivation level. When he had known her, he had been at the perfected Yuan monarch realm. Now, he was at the mid-stage Yuan monarch realm. He was already considered the strongest powerhouse in this world. Yiju was only in his 30s, but he had already reached a realm that many people could not reach in a few hundred years. The divine beast egg needed to be contracted before it could awaken life force. She had only thought of it recently and taken it out. She did not feel at ease giving it to anyone, so it was best to give it to Yiju. Anyway, she only wanted to leave the good things to him. In this world, Yiju had taken care of her meticulously. She was a little greedy for this feeling and naturally wanted to repay him with the best. Cousin, I don't need it. Yiju thought that this was his cousin's opportunity. What was the point of him taking it? All the good things in the world should belong to his cousin. I want you to contract it. Cousin, are you willing or not? Faced with Tang Guo's request, Yi Ju could not refuse and unwillingly contracted the divine beast egg. Sure enough, right after the contract was made, the divine beast egg had life force. After being contracted by Yi Ju, it was naturally very close to Yi Ju. However, it seemed to have some doubts and even circled around Tang Guo. Yi Ju was amused. See, cousin? It's confused too. It thinks you're its master. Follow me well. I'll treat you well. The mythological beast egg returned to Yi Ju's side. Yi Ju put away the egg. Since he had already contracted it, he would definitely treat it well. Cousin, let's make a trip back to Pingcheng. I've been out for 10 years. I want to go back and take a look. I'm sure I won't have the chance to go back in the future. Yi Ju agreed. He had been away for a long time, and he missed his big brother in the palace. Although they often communicated with each other, it couldn't be compared to meeting each other. The two of them were now the most powerful people in the mainland. Very soon, they returned to Ping City quietly. After returning to Ping City, the two of them parted ways. Yi Ju went to the palace while Tang Guo returned to the family Tang. She had several purposes for returning to the family Tang. She wanted to see how the current family Tang was doing. She was referring to Tang Haohui, Tang Huan, and the rest. She also wanted to see the Tang clan. She had a good impression of the clan. She went to look for the Tang clan leader directly. The clan leader knew that she was back and hurried to welcome her excitedly. The moment he saw Tang Guo, he was shocked. He could not see through Tang Guo even though he was a perfected immortal realm cultivator. Elder Tang. The clan leader quickly reacted and cupped his hands. He smiled. Congratulations, Elder Tang. Peak. Chapter 205. Back then, he had done those things for a reason. One reason was because he saw Tang Guo's boundless future. On the other hand, he was disgusted by Tang Haohui's actions and pitied Tang Guo. He didn't expect the little girl who had just shown her talent to have grown to such an extent. It really made him sigh with emotion. The more outstanding Tang Guo was, the more he looked down on Tang Haohui. There's one thing I still have to explain to Elder Tang. After discussion among the elders, Tang Haohui's position as the patriarch has been removed. Tang Guo smiled. Patriarch, please do as you wish. I don't care about these things. The patriarch also knew that Tang Guo didn't have a good impression of Tang Haohui. She might be happy with this decision. I came back this time mainly to see the patriarch and the elders of the clan. Thank you for your care in the past. She had always repaid kindness with kindness. She took out a storage ring and handed it to the patriarch. Inside are the items I left for the Tang clan. Patriarch, you are a fair person. You should know who to distribute them to. They will be kept by you. There's also a copy of my experience in medicine refinement. Patriarch, please choose a talented seedling to teach. That's right. I only have one request. These items cannot fall into the hands of Tang Haohui's bloodline. No one can have them, including Bao Yunzi. The patriarch's spirits rose. Tang Haohui's family had really hurt Elder Tang's heart. Thank you, Elder Tang. At first, the patriarch thought that it was just some miraculous elixirs and Tang Guo's experience in medicine refinement. He attached some importance to it, but also didn't attach much importance to it. After all, Tang Guo had only left for 10 years. After Tang Guo bid farewell, she said that she would leave Ping City soon and might not return. He opened it to take a look, and what he saw left him dumbfounded. The patriarch hurriedly put away the storage ring carefully. His eyes were filled with tears. The name Tang Guo should be recorded in the Tang clan's merit list. Just this one item was enough for the Tang clan to develop for hundreds of years. Later, Tang Guo sat in a tea house and heard the people of Ping City discussing Tang Huan. She had not paid attention to this matter for a long time. From the mouths of these people, she found out that ever since they separated, Tang Huan's cultivation speed had become slower and slower. Tang Haohui thought that she had only reached a bottleneck, but he didn't expect that after a few years, Tang Huan's realm still hadn't loosened. Not only that, if his cultivation did not improve, Tang Huan's temper would become more and more irritable as he aged, and he would not be able to calm down when refining medicine. Even with the help of the medicine refining space, it would still explode out of 10 times. Over time, everyone stopped talking about Tang Huan's talent and started to talk about the fall of the geniuses of the past. Coincidentally, just a few days ago, Tang Huan was at his own shop. Yes, the pill shop. She claimed that she had a master behind her who could provide her with all kinds of high-grade pills, but in fact, they were all refined by the alchemy space. Right, she was still the 7th prince's wife. On one hand, Yi Yang liked her. On the other hand, he couldn't do without her spirit pill cultivation. They got married 10 years ago. Speaking of which, a few days ago, a mysterious woman barged into the pill shop and attacked Tang Huan without any explanation. The newcomer was very fierce. Compared to Tang Huan, who had not improved much in the past few years, the other party was a little stronger. Tang Huan did not expect that someone would harm her. In a moment of carelessness, the other party broke the tendons in her hands and feet. In the end, Tang Huan was stripped naked and thrown onto the street. Not a single piece of clothing was left. Her naked body was thrown onto the street just like that, and the onlookers were addicted to watching. Peak. Chapter 206. Tang Huan was born beautiful, and she often took good care of her body. More and more people looked at her. That mysterious woman was very fierce, and anyone who wanted to help Tang Huan was crippled by her. The mysterious woman even humiliated Tang Huan on the street. When you did that, I don't know if you ever thought that today would happen. Tang Huan, you asked for it, you vixen. Isn't it enough to have the 7th prince? You're the real slut. Why did I believe you back then? You're not close to your own cousin, and you always help you bully your cousin. Speaking of which, that cousin of mine didn't do anything to me. At most, she's a little arrogant. All these years, I finally understand that you're just jealous of her talent and identity. That's why you always tell me that her temper is bad and sow discord, and let us see her arrogance and despotism. Haha, what a joke, we all believed you. That's right, that woman was Bao Ling who paralyzed Zheng Song. She humiliated Tang Huan for a while, and slipped away before the others could react. Just like last time, no one could find her. Last time, someone helped to cover her tracks. Now, her cultivation was not bad. After 10 years, she had grown to another level. Whether it was her state of mind or her knowledge, she had grown a lot. She could take care of all this herself. After taking her revenge, she didn't return to the Bao family. She didn't plan to return to the Bao family either. There was no place for her in the Bao family. 10 years had passed. Even though Tang Huan was already the 7th prince's wife, Bao Shifeng was still obsessed with her. When she returned to the Bao family, Bao Shifeng would probably skin her alive if he knew what she had done. It was said that later, Yi Yang personally came to pick Tang Huan up. That day, the pill shop closed and Tang Huan didn't appear again. Now, whether it was the 7th prince's residence or the Bao family, they were all chasing after Bao Ling. What Bao Ling did 10 years ago was enough to make them angry. Tang Guo listened to all of this with a smile. Actually, she didn't do anything. She just gave a little push. People who seek death will always seek death. Host, are you sure it wasn't your appearance that suppressed the protagonist's aura? Look, after you appeared, Tang Huan has been in a lot of trouble. The good impression that Yi Yang built on the Night Emperor's side was destroyed by you. Now, he is still struggling bitterly. Anyway, the next Night Emperor can't be Yi Yang. Tang Guo smiled non-committally. So what? I'm happy. He was happy. He was happy that these people had ended up like this, and they had courted their own deaths. He didn't have to put in much effort at all. He was so happy that he could die. Look at how smug you are. If cousin sees this, cousin likes my naughty side the most. He'll be even happier. The system was annoyed. The host was becoming more and more arrogant, more and more crooked, and more and more. Anyway, it didn't want to describe it. With the host's existence, the male and female leads could only take a detour. Tang Guo threw down the money for the tea and walked towards the palace. It was time to visit her cousin. After she left, an average-looking woman appeared. She stared in the direction that Tang Guo left and remembered the happy expression on her face when she heard about Tang Huan. The woman couldn't help but laugh. Tang Guo was still Tang Guo. She still showed everything on her face. The arrogance and despotism of the young miss of an aristocratic family was vividly displayed by her. She didn't give the other party any face at all. No wonder she always wanted to target her in the past. Recalling the past, she sighed slightly and turned to leave. She didn't have the face to see her old friend. Peek. Chapter 207. Time passed quickly. Yi Ju accompanied Tang Guo to travel all over the continent. The two of them even went to all kinds of dangerous mystic realms together. No matter what danger they encountered, the two of them were always able to turn the danger into safety after joining forces. Cousin, it's been 500 years. Tang Guo's appearance was still the same as before. She was already at the peak stage of the Emperor Yuan realm and was just one step away from breaking through the void. She looked at the man in front of her. He was still wearing a red robe, and his appearance was still so handsome. She would never get tired of looking at him. The smile on his face could always cross her heart, add some warmth to her, and heal the traces left behind by the countless worlds she had passed through. He said that he would accompany her, and he really accompanied her. She couldn't help but be moved. In the past 500 years, she had also given her heart to him. He should have felt it, right? The original lifespan was 550 years. She was already more than 530 years old, and she would leave this world in more than 10 years. This was the rule of her shuttling between worlds. She could leave in advance, and she could only delay it by 10 years at most. Cousin, can you tell me why your realm hasn't increased in hundreds of years? Tang Guo looked at Yi Ju. With Yi Ju's talent, he should have cultivated to the peak stage of the Emperor Yuan realm long ago. However, he was only at the late stage of the Emperor Yuan realm 500 years ago. He hadn't increased in the past 500 years. Yi Ju smiled bitterly. I have an obsession in my heart, and my cultivation has stagnated. But I don't care about this anymore. I am content to be able to stay by your side. This was the first time Tang Guo heard Yi Ju say that he had an obsession. She was puzzled. What obsession? I always feel sorry for you and always want to accompany you. I am afraid that if I cultivate too fast, I will break through the void and leave. In the end, Yi Ju spread his hands. In the end, my cultivation actually stopped increasing. He was also very helpless, but his expression didn't seem to care at all. You didn't think of a way. Cousin, I guess I won't be able to break through the void in many years. A late-stage Yuan the Arch could live for 1,000 years. If Yi Ju didn't break through, he would only have less than 500 years to live. Although she held grudges, she didn't want Yi Ju to stagnate. Cousin, I won't force you. As long as she was well, he would be well. He didn't know when, but all his original intentions had changed. He only wanted to protect her wholeheartedly. Cousin is willing to let me go. I've thought about it, Yi Ju said helplessly. But my cultivation still hasn't improved. He had thought about what would happen if his cousin broke through the void and left, leaving him alone. However, his cultivation did not increase. Tang Guo frowned. This was not what she wanted. Yi Ju should have broken through the void, and she did not want to change this outcome. Moreover, this person was Yi Ju, and she would not be able to stay here for long. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. Cousin, come here. I have a decision to make. What decision? As long as you break through the void with me and we reach a new world together, I will marry you. What do you think? If Yi Ju still couldn't improve his cultivation, she could only think of other ways. Just as she thought of this, she felt that Yi Ju was moving. Then, she found that the surrounding vitality was crazily pouring into Yi Ju's body. Yi Ju looked at her with a bright smile. Tang Guo felt that she had been fooled. Cousin, don't go. Yi Ju had a pleading look on his face. I never thought you would make such a decision. I just swore to the heavens that if my cousin didn't agree to marry me, I would never be able to break through the void. That was a long time ago. Chapter 208. This oath was made before I decided not to force you. I really didn't lie to you on purpose. If I really did lie to you, I would have told you the truth long ago. Tangwa believed that Yi Ju would not lie to her. And from the beginning to the end, she had been willing to say these words. In fact, these words could not be realized at all. The day she broke through the void was the day she would leave this place. Thinking of this, she was no longer angry. Her words still had some skill. They broke through the void together and arrived in a new world together. Only then would they get married. And she would never be able to arrive in a new world with him. It was not considered lying to him, right? Tangwa thought uneasily. Cousin, you won't regret it, right? Yi Ju looked at Tangwa anxiously. His pitiful expression amused Tangwa. She shook her head. I naturally won't go back on my words. Yi Ju was naturally so happy that he was about to cry. Fortunately, Tangwa glared at him. Only then did he laugh out loud. Since that day, Yi Ju cultivated harder and harder every day. Finally, he caught up to Tangwa's cultivation. He realized that after that day, his cousin treated him even better. She would even cook for him occasionally. He was even more certain that his cousin had sincerely agreed to his request. His 500 years of following her had not been in vain. In fact, his obsession was not as deep as before. In these 500 years, his cousin only had eyes for him. She could not tolerate anyone else. He was very satisfied. Just as his cousin said, he was not so greedy anymore. That time, his cousin's promise was really a pleasant surprise. Finally, it was time for them to break through the void together. The two of them looked at the weakest part of the sky and their expressions became slightly more serious. Tangwa turned to look at Yi Ju beside her. The corners of her eyes curved. Cousin, thank you. Thank you for being so good. It was really healing. She felt that some of the flaws in her heart had been mended. No matter what happens, cousin, you must take good care of yourself. Don't worry, cousin, I'll hold your hand properly and won't let go. Even if we accidentally separate, I'll find you quickly. Tangwa lowered her head and smiled. I'm destined to disappoint you. Host, do you feel a little melancholy? After all, your cousin is really good. Somewhat. She was too greedy for this kind of sincere affection. However, she could not go against the rules of time travel. She had tried to go against it, but she would always go directly to the next world. Even in the Xianxia world, she had already become an immortal. In the next second, she might appear in a street in the modern world and be beaten up. This was really a sad story. When the suction force from the other world came, their bodies involuntarily floated over. At first, Yi Ju was still holding tightly onto Tangwa's hand, but then his vision turned black, and the strength in his body temporarily disappeared. He grabbed around frantically, but there was nothing around him. When he opened his eyes, he was in another world. When he looked around again, there was no sign of Tangwa. At that time, he did not know that Tangwa was no longer in this world. He could only grit his teeth. Cousin, I'll find you quickly. When I find you, we'll be biological monkeys. Epilogue 1 year, 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. Yi Ju had already searched the entire world, but there was still no sign of Tangwa. Chapter 209. Yi Ju didn't give up. He went to all kinds of dangerous mystic realms. He was like a person who never got tired. He kept searching and never stopped. As time passed, everyone in this world came to know of Yi Ju. This person wasn't greedy for power or cultivation. He cultivated to become strong just to find someone. According to him, the person he was looking for was his wife. They came here together, but he lost her. Those who saw this powerful man's eyes redden as he said that he lost his wife felt guilty. In fact, they guessed that his wife was in danger and had died long ago. But he never gave up. Later, someone told him that there was a mystic realm in this realm. There was a magical mirror in it. He had a chance to see what he wanted to see. But this mystic realm was very dangerous. If he wanted to enter and find the mirror, he needed to be strong enough. So they never saw the man who was frantically searching for his wife again. Some said that he gave up. Some said that he went into seclusion in despair. Another 1,000 years passed. When Yiju appeared, everyone realized that they couldn't see through that man anymore. He only said one sentence to everyone. He was going to find the mirror. This time, he would definitely find his wife. Everyone said, "He's crazy. He's crazy." After entering the mystic realm, Yiju finally found the legendary mirror after many hardships. He held the simple mirror with a pious expression. There was only anticipation in his eyes. Even though he was so powerful, his eyes were red as he stuttered, "I want to see my cousin. I want to see where she went after we parted. I want to know where she is now. I can't see where she is now. But I can see the last scene of her in this realm." Yiju's heart sank. At the same time, he was happy. So his cousin was still alive. Okay. Then the scene in the mirror returned to when he and Tang were separated. The stunning woman was smiling. Her voice came from the mirror. "Cousin, I don't know if you can hear me or not. I might not appear in the same world as you. I'm a passerby in every world. I can never stay. My anger has subsided. Although I hold grudges, your 500 years of sincerity has moved me. Unfortunately, I can't stay for you. Take care." The image in the mirror fell into darkness and Tangwa's figure could no longer be seen. Yiju was bawling his eyes out. He held the mirror and shook it, wanting to see his cousin again. "Little liar, you are a little liar. Cousin, you little liar." In the end, Yiju wiped his face dry and put the mirror back. He summoned the divine beast that he had contracted with that day. It was a phoenix. "Master." Phoenix felt that the contract had been broken by Yiju. She was a little puzzled. In fact, ever since she followed Yiju, she had never been wronged. Yiju was too strong. He did not even need her help. She felt that she was just a phoenix waiting to die. "From now on, you can go on your own." Without waiting for Phoenix to say anything, he waved his hand and threw Phoenix out of the secret realm. "Little liar, no matter which world you go to, I will find you. You promised me that you will marry me." After saying that, Yiju did not hesitate to return to nothingness. He stood on the spot with a smile and felt his strength gradually dissipating. At the last moment before his consciousness disappeared, his strong feelings actually faded. Following which, the pair of eyes that were filled with affection also faded. She lowered her eyes and touched her chest. "Is this the love you spoke of?" Chapter 210. Host, Yiju was unable to find you, so his cultivation base has returned to nothingness. Tangwa, who had just come out of the heavenly spring, heard the news. She was slightly startled, and the feelings that had almost been washed away by the heavenly spring suddenly surged up, but she quickly ignored them. The system knew how heartless the host was after coming out of the heavenly spring. No matter how deep the feelings were, as long as she lay down in the heavenly spring, they would dissipate in her heart after a few days. "Host, let me tell you a piece of good news. My abilities seem to have become much stronger." Tangwa's interest was piqued. "What can you do now? For example, the Veteran's Gift Pack or the System Store. Do you have it?" System Host. "No." The system replied sullenly. "Next world." System Dog. Tangwa was awakened by the pain. She opened her eyes and looked at her surroundings. She quickly understood that she had come to a modern world. Perhaps it was because she was a cultivator in the previous world, but she subconsciously felt the energy in the air. There's actually spiritual energy. Tangwa couldn't help but laugh. Compared to a world with no spiritual energy, she preferred a world with this kind of special energy. Although it was a little dangerous, it was a good thing for her. When she laughed, she felt the pain on her right cheek. The pain was like being burned by something. It was so painful that she couldn't even open her eyes. At this time, she also realized that she was staying in a hospital. Almost instantly, she understood that something had happened to her face. She wasn't worried at all. If this world didn't have the magical spiritual energy, she might be a little distressed. If there was spiritual energy, even if her face was ruined, she had a way to repair it. Thus, she didn't care about her face for the time being. She closed her eyes and let the system send the drama to her. After watching the drama, she clicked her tongue, so this is an unexpected disaster. The system was also a little weak. If the host's body had any conflicts with the female lead, there was no conflict at all with the female lead. In the end, the host's face was ruined because of the female lead. It really was an unexpected disaster. The female lead of this world was called Ji Xiaoxi. She was a student of Sea City's first grade class 3. She was originally a fair, rich, and beautiful girl that everyone envied. Not only did she have good grades, a good family background, and good looks. She was recognized by the whole school as the school's belle. If she was the school belle, then the female lead, Ji Xiaoxi, would be a joke. Ji Xiaoxi was not tall, less than 1.6 meters, but her body was very round. Saying that she was round was a good way to put it. In fact, from afar, she looked like a ball. Not only that, but Ji Xiaoxi's facial features weren't good either. She had pimples on her face, and her grades were at the bottom of the class. In any case, Ji Xiaoxi didn't have a single shining point in her life. Moreover, she was very sensitive and had an inferiority complex. If someone touched her soft spot, she would have a conflict with them. If Ji Xiaoxi had anything to do with Ben Yuan, it would be that Ji Xiaoxi's secret crush on the school hunk, Fu Zhuoshu, had been exposed, and a few girls in school had bullied her in the restroom. Coincidentally, he saw Yukori going to the toilet, so he helped to rescue her. Originally, it was purely because he couldn't stand those people's actions and left after saving Ji Xiaoxi. However, in Ji Xiaoxi's eyes, she had originally looked down on her. Not only was she not grateful, but she even felt resentment in her heart. Ji Xiaoxi picked up her broken phone and went home sullenly. Then, she picked up a very new phone on the way. It was not a famous brand, but an inferior one. Ji Xiaoxi was still worried about how to explain it to her family. Chapter 211. After picking up the phone, Ji Xiaoxi couldn't help but take it home. When she logged into WeChat, she found that there was a strange group in her WeChat account, the Plain Communication Group. Ji Xiaoxi looked at her name card. She was called Ji Xiaoxi. The members of the group were not simple. Their names were very Chinibya to her. General Billy, Sage Ziyun, Devil Sex Leader, Fairy Piao, Devil Sage Harold, Emmanuel, and so on. She thought that she was accidentally pulled in by a group of Chinibya. She was just about to leave when someone in the group sent a red packet. She subconsciously clicked on it. With that, she clicked on a new life. She looked at the thing that appeared in her hand. It was the plastic surgery instrument. Yes, this red packet was sent by Emmanuel. Ji Xiaoxi, who had snatched the plastic surgery instrument, secretly observed the group. She heard the plastic surgeon called Emmanuel say that this plastic surgery instrument was newly developed by him. It could slowly adjust one's appearance to one's desired appearance. Ji Xiaoxi still didn't believe it, but she felt that the plastic surgery instrument that suddenly appeared in her hand was very magical. She chose to be skeptical and didn't leave the group for the time being. Ji Xiaoxi's life was a cheat. With her hand speed, she snatched a lot of good things from various planes, slowly changing her life. The group members were also curious about Ji Xiaoxi, a newcomer who had suddenly appeared. They didn't say anything, but they were somewhat dissatisfied with this newcomer who only snatched red packets but didn't send them. Ji Xiaoxi seemed to have become much smarter after eating those elixirs. She felt that the group members were dissatisfied with her. She thought that no matter if she was a human or a ghost, she couldn't escape the word eat. She spent all the money she had recently earned and went to a restaurant to buy the most expensive dishes and wine and sent them out. Then, the group members seemed to be a group of people who had never eaten good food before. They all had a good impression of Ji Xiaoxi. Gradually, they got along better and better. They helped Ji Xiaoxi change her fate and even helped Ji Xiaoxi to cultivate. Now, Ji Xiaoxi had joined the Red Packet group for 2 months. She had slowly changed her appearance. This was what happened to the original body. Perhaps Ji Xiaoxi was subconsciously jealous of the original body. Her appearance after the transformation was actually 60% similar to the original body. Originally, Ji Xiaoxi could have changed her appearance when it was set, but in the end, she somehow managed to retain this appearance. Just like that, Ji Xiaoxi became the second Tang Guo. Because she looked too much like Tang Guo, it was impossible for her not to become famous. After the change, Ji Xiaoxi was approachable, unlike Tang Guo, who was born in a superior family. Everyone naturally liked people like Ji Xiaoxi more, and they felt that the original body was more arrogant. Ever since Ji Xiaoxi had changed, she had attracted countless suitors. One of the craziest suitors was from the second high school. His name was Ma Maro, and he was a gangster. He was also a rich second-generation heir with a deep background. Ji Xiaoxi was unwilling to be with Ma Maro. Ma Maro was furious and planned to destroy Ji Xiaoxi. One day after school, Ma Maro carried the prepared sulfuric acid and walked towards Ji Xiaoxi. Ji Xiaoxi subconsciously felt that something was wrong and ran away. Ma Maro chased after her crazily. Ji Xiaoxi could not stop in time. Halfway through, she accidentally bumped into someone. Chapter 212. The original body felt something was wrong. When the other party splashed the acid, she blocked it with her school bag. However, some of the sulfuric acid still splashed on her right face and arm. Because of Ji Xiaoxi, the original body was disfigured. This happened a few days ago. Ji Xiaoxi didn't appear to apologize. Maybe she simply ignored the person she bumped into. The people in No. 1 middle school only knew that campus belle Tang had an accident and was hospitalized. The details were not clear. Others didn't know the follow-up, but Tang Guo knew after reading the follow-up. After the original body was disfigured, the family Tang asked the Ma family for an explanation. The Ma family had a deeper background than the family Tang. In order to redress their daughter's injustice, the family Tang couple was bankrupted by the Ma family. The disfigured original body became a joke in No. 1 middle school. Ma Maro also led the joke. Ma Maro regretted it after splashing the sulfuric acid. After all, he really liked Ji Xiaoxi. In the end, when he found out that the person who was splashed was not Ji Xiaoxi, but the original body, he felt a little lucky. The original owner of this body was a proud person. Although she was disfigured, despised, and mocked by others, her grades were much better than before. She used to be the third place in her grade. After her disfigurement, her ranking had always been the first place. For the family Tang couple who were in poor health, she worked hard and did better than others. However, the world always liked good-looking people more. The right side of her face was very ugly because of the sulfuric acid splashing. No matter what she did, it was difficult. Although she was very capable and talented, she was still rejected. When the family Tang couple was still alive, she still had the motivation to work. After the family Tang couple left, she fell into darkness and no longer worked hard. In the end, she suffered from depression and died when she was in her 50s. She didn't choose to commit suicide. Instead, she used her ability to help children who had the same experience as her. But she could help others, but she couldn't help herself. She could never get out of the shadow of the past. She couldn't understand why Ji Xiaoxi didn't remind her when she helped her. Ji Xiaoxi knew that there would be danger later. After the incident, Ji Xiaoxi also acted like she didn't know anything. No one knew that the original body was disfigured because Ji Xiaoxi knocked her down and Ji Xiaoxi looked similar to the original body. With Ji Xiaoxi's fortuitous encounter, she could help restore her original appearance. If Ji Xiaoxi had such magnanimity, with the original body's pride, even if she was unhappy, she would still forgive the other party. In the end, the other party chose not to know anything and allowed the original body to be ridiculed by the people in the school. It was as if the original body also wanted to experience the feeling of being ridiculed. In the end, Ji Xiaoxi managed to woo her idol, Fu Zhuoshu. After they got married, they were very happy. Ji Xiaoxi even brought Fu Zhuoshu into cultivation. As for what happened after that, there was no more plot. Ma Mao's life wasn't too bad either. He ended up in this world as an affectionate male supporting character. Other than Ji Xiaoxi, he had everything. The original body was an innocent passerby. She didn't do anything, but she had such an ending. It was really disappointing. I thought I was in the modern world. After being cured for so long, I would be able to live a peaceful life. When the system heard its host's words, it inexplicably trembled. The host was unhappy. It seems like other than my parents, no one in this world has ever let me down. Do you think I should join the news agency? The system was frightened. It couldn't be that they were going to perish together again and the world was going to collapse, right? Oh my God, host, don't be like this. This world is still very interesting. Vertex. Chapter 213. Host, think about whether the original owner of this body had any wishes. Why don't we help her fulfill her wishes? In any case, the host had long stopped doing that child matching mission. The male and female leads had no halo in front of the host. Tangwa paused and carefully felt the original owner's thoughts. She pressed her forehead and sighed. Why is there such a person who doesn't want revenge after being hurt? She wants to repay society. Her wish is very simple. Protect the family Tang and live a happy life. She didn't mention Ma Maro, Ji Xiaoxi, and the others. Tangwa couldn't understand such a saintly thought. Okay, I'll protect the family Tang and torture the scum. Anyway, with me around, I won't let Ma Maro and the others live a good life. The system trembled. Host, how do you want revenge? As long as the world isn't destroyed. Tangwa smiled, which made her face, which was still wrapped in gauze, feel painful. Host, why don't you restore your appearance first? The system knew that its host didn't care about her appearance, but this was based on the fact that she could restore her appearance at any time. If the world was really ugly, the host would definitely do something like a newspaper. There's no hurry. I want to experience a different life. For example, I want to go back to school with an ugly face and see how those people react. Tangwa smiled. If I go back in one piece, how can those people sympathize with me? The system stuttered. Okay. As long as it's not a newspaper. Host, I have good news to tell you. I can invade this world's network. The system had just tried it. After discovering that it had this function, it was about to jump up. All this time, it had been looked down on by the host. She said that it didn't give out newbie gift packs, reward packs, or veteran gift packs. She even mocked him for invading the network herself. After the last world, it felt that its ability had improved. It had always been curious about what it could do. Now that it knew that it was still useful, how could it not be happy? Tangwa raised her eyes. Look at how happy you are. I thought you were going to implant a virus into the world's network. The system was broken. The host was still so evil. If that's the case, save all the surveillance footage of the street where the incident happened a few days ago. As long as there are surveillance cameras, start from the beginning. In the end, Tangwa smiled. The surveillance footage should have been deleted. I don't think this will stop you, Tong. Of course, the system wouldn't say that it couldn't do it. When it did this, it realized that it was really amazing. It could easily restore the deleted surveillance footage. It had saved several complete copies. Host, I have completed the task as per your instructions. It had to be said that this feeling of being able to help the host was really a happy one. Heavens, since when was he on the host's side? No, he was originally on the same side as the host. The host even said that as long as she was around, she would not abandon him. He was touched. Once he had the ability, he would never abandon his host. He would never betray his host. The family Tang couple came to the hospital at night. Both of them did not look well. Without surveillance cameras as evidence, and with witnesses unwilling to testify, it was impossible for them to seek justice. The Ma family had a strong background, and there was nothing they could do. Looking at their daughter lying on the hospital bed, the two of them were heartbroken. Vertex. Chapter 214. Xiaoguo, does it hurt? Tangwa's mother wiped her tears and gently held Tangwa's hand. Your father has already contacted a foreign hospital for you. Xiaoguo, you don't have to worry about anything. Let Mom and Dad do everything. Mom won't let you suffer in vain. The other party will definitely be punished. Tangua felt a little warm in her heart. Whether it was sincere love or heartwarming familial love, they were all things she was greedy for in this world. However, she was the kind of greedy rational and would not indulge in it. Dad, Mom, there's no evidence, right? You have no chance of winning against the Ma family. Why do you have to hit a rock with an egg at this time? The original body was the only daughter of the family Tang. She was raised as the successor by the family Tang couple since she was young. She was rational and smart because she was raised from a young age. After her disfigurement, the family Tang was able to quickly stand up and support the family. The couple who were originally sad were stunned for a moment. Looking at their daughter's bright eyes, it seemed that she was not too sad about the disfigurement. However, they did not believe that their daughter had always been sensible. She must have been afraid that they would worry, so she suppressed the pain and grievances in her heart. The more they thought about it, the more heartbroken they felt. Xiao Guo, no matter what, Dad will send that person to prison. Tang Guo's father's face was serious. He felt like he was going to perish together. Tang Guo understood why the original body was able to hold on for so many years. Even if the depression was serious, she did not think of suicide. She had a pair of parents who loved her. Even if everyone despised her, her parents would always love her. The existence of the family Tang couple was the only warmth and motivation in her heart. Dad, Mom, what I mean is that we should temporarily lay low. There's no need to hit a rock with an egg. Tang Guo had her own plan. She could take revenge on her own. There was no need for her parents to throw caution to the wind. With the current situation of our family Tang, we have no chance of winning against the Ma family. If we lose, something bad will happen to our family Tang. Dad, Mom, have you thought about the future? The family Tang couple came to their senses when they heard this. That's right, they were clearly no match for the Ma family. If they were to go against them now, it would be a thankless task. Not only would they not be able to deal with them, but they might even implicate the family Tang family. At that time, they would have nothing. What could they use to seek justice for their daughter? Their daughter was already disfigured. If they did not have the support of money, what should they do? In an instant, the two of them understood the crux of the matter. The couple, who originally had little interest in the business world, had a strong fighting spirit in their eyes. In the past, they were fighting for their own hopes. Now, they were fighting for their daughter. Tang Guo looked at the two of them. She was healed again. Why did she say she was healed? It was because she had met a pair of scumbag parents in her previous world. She had inherited the feelings of the original body. Although she was very rational, she still felt very stifled. Father Tang still planned to let Tang Guo go abroad for treatment, but Tang Guo refused again. How could she cause trouble abroad? She was also particularly interested in Ji Xiaoxi's red envelope group. After the family Tang couple left, she poked the system. Tong, can you hack into Ji Xiaoxi's phone? Let me try. The system was also very interested. Hacking into the network of the normal world was not a big feat for its host. If it could hack into this red envelope group, it believed that the host would look at it in a different light. It would no longer be called a defective product. Host, it's possible. Peek. Chapter 215. The system said that it could hack into Ji Xiaoxi's phone. Tang Guo forgot about the pain in her face. She closed her eyes excitedly. In fact, her consciousness had already connected with the system. A light board appeared in front of her, showing the image of Ji Xiaoxi's phone. It just so happened that Ji Xiaoxi was squatting in the plane exchange group waiting for red packets. This was what she did every day after school. Ziyun Zhenren, I refined a batch of beauty pills yesterday. Little friend Ji, do you have anything delicious? I'll trade with you. Ji Xiaoxi was waiting for this. She quickly sent a message. Yes, yes. What would Ziyun Zhenren like to eat? Ziyun Zhenren thought for a while and ordered 2 kinds of food. Braised prawns and lotus leaf chicken. Ji Xiaoxi usually didn't eat these things herself. In the past, she would feel heartache for a while, but ever since she gained benefits here, she didn't feel heartache at all. She even went to some high-class restaurants to order delicious food. For her, it was a high-class restaurant, but in fact, it wasn't even a 5-star restaurant. But the group of people in the group seemed to have never eaten anything delicious in their lives. They especially liked the food she took out. Moreover, Ji Xiaoxi gained more benefits. A batch of beauty pills was priceless in this modern world. It could buy a lot of food like braised prawns. But the group of people in the group didn't know that. They only thought that such delicious food should be worth the price. And to them, the beauty pills were just some small things. So their trade was very peaceful and smooth. After Ziyun Zhenren came out, the others also came out one after another, saying that they wanted to trade with what Ji Xiaoxi wanted. How could Ji Xiaoxi refuse? After recording what these people wanted, she went out to order delicious food. At this time, the system had already hacked into the plane exchange group. This gave Tang Guo a certain understanding of the system's ability. Not bad, system. You can even hack into this kind of group. Of course. I've long said that I will grow and help the host. The system was very proud and happy. After so many worlds, the host finally sincerely praised it once. It wasn't easy. Just thinking about it made it cry. And through this upgrade, it discovered a secret. Every time the host went through a world, its energy would increase. In the beginning, when he was doing the female supporting character's mission, the increase in his energy was especially slow. Naturally, he didn't receive any growth and was only a plot prompt. When the host overturned the female supporting character's mission and wandered around in various worlds, causing trouble, he found that after the mission ended, his energy increased very quickly. It was only until the first few worlds that his energy had skyrocketed that he was able to level up and improve his abilities. He analyzed the previous world and came to the conclusion that the joy and anger of his host were related to the growth of his energy. In other words, the more his host had fun in a world, the more comfortable his life would be. As long as the world didn't collapse, he could obtain a lot of energy. If he was unhappy, his energy would only increase a little. If the system had eyes, they would be sparkling. If it had a mouth, it would be drooling. Host, I've created a sock puppet for you. Join this plain chat group. When the host was happy and comfortable, his energy would increase quickly and he would be more useful. If he could help the host, they would be able to live comfortably in the next world. Vertex. Chapter 216. The system was already thinking about its beautiful life in the future. Fortunately, it was smart enough to follow its host early on and didn't force the host to do the supporting female mission. The host had a good impression of it. Host, give your avatar a name. Once you've given it a name, you can officially join the group. Tang Guo narrowed her eyes. Thinking of the original owner of this body, the corners of her mouth curved. She said, let's call it School Bell. After the system helped Tang Guo set up the nickname School Bell, it put this avatar into this plane trading group. Actually, he didn't know why he was so powerful. He could even completely control this plane trading group. He also checked that this group didn't have a group leader. So he decided to let the School Bell ID become the group leader after Tang Guo's avatar entered the group. So, welcome School Bell to the plane trading group. Congratulations to School Bell for becoming the leader of the plane trading group. The two messages were like deep water bombs. Originally, the people inside were waiting for Ji Xiaoxi and didn't leave. First, a newcomer came, which made them happy. Then, this newcomer suddenly became the group leader. This stunned them. Ziyun Zhenren, a newcomer, became the group leader. General Billy, this group has never had a group leader. I've been in for more than 100 years. How can there be a group leader all of a sudden? Margaret, the group leader isn't from my dimension, so I can't divine it. Margaret was a holy wizard from the magic world. In her plane, her status was very high. She could divine the fate of many people in the plane. Kaixiao Zhenren, group leader, are you there? They didn't want to know why the group leader was called School Bell. They only wanted to know why this newcomer was the group leader and who she was. This group had never had a group leader. This made them very curious. The group leader's arrival made them even more interested in this group. School Bell, I'm here. Ziyun Zhenren, Group leader, why did you just join the group? Everyone was very curious and wanted an explanation. They didn't have any special meaning. They weren't in the same plane and couldn't be enemies. They could even help each other. They were just curious. Otherwise, how could Ji Xiaoxi be able to chat with these people? To put it bluntly, it was just each taking what they needed. No one would interfere with each other's interests. Campus bell, I don't know either. I just entered the group out of nowhere. I was still wondering when I suddenly joined a group. Tang Guo lied with a straight face, which was the easiest way to convince others. Sure enough, when she said that, the people in the group all believed her. They even said that they had formed this group out of nowhere and that they were not ordinary people. This group appeared directly in their consciousness, and at first, it gave them a fright. On the other hand, General Billy from the Interstellar said that his group had suddenly appeared on his optical computer. This made Tang Guo understand that in different planes of existence, this group would appear in a way that was more suitable for that plane. However, it was undeniable that this group had brought them a lot of benefits. By giving out red packets, items from various planes could be exchanged. Perhaps this kind of thing was worthless, but it was very useful in that plane. No wonder this group was called the Plane Communication Group. Kai Xiaozhenjuan, Group Leader, send red packets, send red packets, send red packets. Important things must be repeated thrice. Vertex. Chapter 217. Saying important things 3 times was something that Kai Xiaozhenjuan had learned from Ji Xiaoxi. He said it quite smoothly, so he used it just like that. Then, the people in the group started shouting, saying that they wanted Tang Guo to send red packets. Campus bell, what do you like? Everyone was surprised. The group leader's tone was very big, as if she could give them anything they wanted. But now, what they wanted the most was food. Whether it was in Ziyun's cultivation plane, the interstellar plane, or the magic plane, there were flaws in their food. In short, the food was not delicious, and they didn't know how to cook it. Especially in the interstellar plane, they all ate nutrient fluids. Fresh food was considered a luxury in the entire interstellar. Then, Ziyun's spiritual master, food. Great General Billy, yes. Kai Xiaozhenjuan, food +1, Margaret, food +1 page of witchcraft spells. Tang Guo looked for a while in the system space. There was a lot of food inside. The time in the system space was still, so the cooked food was still warm when she took it out. But she didn't need to take it out. She directly opened the red packet development page and used her consciousness to send out what she wanted. For the first time, Tang Guo sent 6 red packets, which were 6 roasted eggs. They were the eggs that Yi Ju had roasted for her before. She had collected a lot of these edible eggs, mainly because they tasted good, had high nutritional value, and were very beneficial to both cultivators and magic cultivators. Tang Guo secretly smiled. She didn't know if these people would be interested in the food she bought in the restaurant after eating the food she gave them. The system had already felt the malice from the host, but it didn't say anything. The happier the host was now, the better it would be for it. It was a system that had drifted through countless worlds, so it wasn't a fool. Ziyun's spiritual master received your red packet. Kai Xiaozhenjuan's spiritual master received your red packet. Margaret's spiritual master received your red packet. Margaret's spiritual master received your red packet. When Tang Guo saw that no one else had received their red packets, she knew that no one else had joined the group for the time being, so she didn't care. The 4 of them were in different planes. They each held an egg the size of a head and sniffed it. They could feel that the egg no longer had any life force. As for how to eat it, he still didn't dare to mess around, so he asked Tang Guo in the group. Campus bell, it's cooked, so you can eat it directly. It's good for both magicians and practitioners. Even General Billy's interstellar plane can improve your body's strength. Earlier, when they were introduced, they had all mentioned which plane they came from. Then, when they talked about giving out red packets, they forgot to ask which plane Tang Guo came from. Now that Tang Guo had explained to them how to eat the eggs and the benefits of the eggs, they couldn't wait to eat them. There was a brief silence in the group, but in less than a minute, it became lively again. Kai Xiaozhenjuan, Ah, it's so delicious. I've never eaten such delicious food before. It's so delicious. Miss, can you give me another one? Needless to say, Kai Xiaozhenjuan must have communicated a lot with the female lead, Ji Xiaoxi, and even traded with her many times. These words were a characteristic of this era. Tang Guo wasn't stingy. She joined the Red Packet group for two purposes. First, she was curious. Second, of course, she was here to destroy Ji Xiaoxi's opportunity. She didn't do anything, but she raised this group of people's taste. Moreover, she was giving it to them for free. There was no need to trade. Hihi, system, shivering, you're really like the host. Peak. Chapter 218. Margaret, I feel that my magic has grown a little. Ziyun Zhenren, the spiritual power in my body has also grown a lot, but I feel that this thing has a good effect the first time I eat it. It won't be so effective in the future. Kai Xiao Zhenren, why do you care so much? It's fine as long as it's delicious. This sentence made the group members agree, expressing that it was so. Seeing that they were in high spirits, Tang Guo sent a lot of food, all of which were specialties from various worlds. The system glanced at the mountainous pile of food in the system space, thinking that the host had collected so many delicacies from various worlds, and it finally came in handy. After half an hour, the four people in the group were very satisfied. They had never eaten so happily before, and they had to exchange with Ji Xiaoxi every time. Knowing that Ji Xiaoxi had a mortal body, they had to consider her body's constitution and find some low-level things to send. Troublesome. After eating, they remembered that they couldn't eat for free. Tang Guo could take out so many things that were immediately beneficial to them after eating them. She must be a character like them, or even more powerful than them. Otherwise, how could she be the group leader as soon as she entered the group? Thus, they felt some reverence in their hearts. Kai Xiao Zhenren, Miss Campus Belle, if you want anything, as long as you ask, I'll try my best to find it for you. General Billy, Zhenren, it's shameful to act cute. Kai Xiao Zhenren, hehe. The others also expressed that they asked Tang Guo if there was anything she wanted, and privately looked to see what they could take out. Compared to how they treated Ji Xiaoxi, they were simply people from two different worlds. To put it bluntly, Ji Xiaoxi, an ordinary person, entered this group. They just felt that it was a novelty, and that Ji Xiaoxi could bring them food. Tang Guo was different. From the beginning, she had shown that she had a lot of treasures in her hands, and her strength must be extraordinary. She was the same kind of person as them, and there was no sense of distance when she spoke. Plus, they were not in the same plane, so there was no conflict of interest, and of course, they were closer. Campus Belle, it's my first time joining the group, so consider this a greeting gift. I have a lot of things like this, so it's nothing. Besides, I became the group leader as soon as I came, so consider it a compensation for everyone. At first, they were a little dissatisfied with the fact that the newcomer was the group leader right after he joined the guild. Now that his stomach was satisfied, his heart was also satisfied. This new mysterious group leader was actually quite good. Ji Xiaoxi received your red packet. Ji Xiaoxi received your red packet. At this moment, Ji Xiaoxi came back. Seeing that someone was giving out red packets, she subconsciously snatched them. Tang Guo gave out 6 red packets for each red packet. There were 5 red packets in total, and Ji Xiaoxi snatched 5 of them. In the private room of the hotel, Ji Xiaoxi was actually a little surprised by the strange things that suddenly appeared in front of her. They looked like food and an egg. The surface of the egg was smooth and glossy, which made Ji Xiaoxi's heart move. Could it be that this was a divine beast egg? She suppressed the excitement in her heart and put away the egg. She thought that this thing might really be able to hatch a cute pet. When that time came, just thinking about it made her excited. Because of this, she did not ask the people in the group what kind of egg it was. As for the others, they were easier to recognize. They were all food. Tang Guo silently watched Ji Xiaoxi snatch the red packet without saying a word and chuckled. Vertex. Chapter 219. Ji Xiaoxi carefully put away the things and began to send red packets. She sent all the things to the group and specified who they were for. Because this was a transaction, everyone would not shoot randomly when they saw the names. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, they did not miss Ji Xiaoxi's food. The food Ji Xiaoxi gave them tasted good, but it was not as good as the food Tang Guo gave them. Besides, eating too much of it was not good for them, but of course, it was not harmful either. However, Tang Guo's food was not simple. Every food had a certain use. They felt a little sorry for giving it to them for free. However, they had already discussed it before, so they could only take the food and give it to her in the form of red packets as Ji Xiaoxi said before. The purple cloud sage took a bite of the braised shrimp. It tasted good, but he suddenly felt that it was not so delicious. He took a bite of the egg white and suddenly felt that the egg white was tender and very delicious. The braised shrimp was dry and spicy, so it was not so delicious. He had used a furnace of beauty pills to make a plate of braised shrimp and a lotus leaf chicken. He was not a fool. Of course, he knew the value of beauty pills in the secular world. There was no harm without comparison. With the food Tang Guo gave them for free, especially the highly nutritious egg, and the junk food like braised shrimp, he suddenly felt that Ji Xiaoxi was a little stingy. They were just exchanging things because they were rare. It was not that they did not know the value of these things. Ji Xiaoxi seemed to think that they did not know, and she even told them that these things were very expensive. No matter how expensive they were, could they be more expensive than his beauty pills and the life-saving talisman of Kai Xiaozhenjuan? Also, Margaret's cursed talisman was not something that could be exchanged with secular items. The same thing happened to several other people. They had the same thought as the purple cloud sage. They all felt that Ji Xiaoxi was too stingy. They did not think so much before because they could only get food from Ji Xiaoxi. They did not intend to take revenge on Ji Xiaoxi. She was just an ordinary person who would disappear from their group in 100 years. In this group, who was not an old monster who had lived for thousands of years. Even interstellar humans, who had the shortest lifespan, would have to live for at least a few thousand years. If the technology was in place, they could even extract their mental energy and transplant it into a new body. That would be akin to eternal life, although the chances of success weren't high. Ji Xiaoxi got her things and said, "In the future, if you want to eat anything, you can tell me in advance. I'll make a list and buy it for you. True monarch Kai Xiao, I've been eating too much lately. I feel that if I continue eating, there will be too many impurities and my cultivation might regress." Ji Xiaoxi was stunned for a moment. Would this happen? Thinking of those situations in the book, she didn't doubt it. "General Billy, the Zergs are here again. From now on, we won't have the chance to eat alone. Who knows what will happen if someone sees us?" What he meant was that he didn't want it either. Ji Xiaoxi didn't care. She didn't think that these people could resist the temptation of her delicious food. "Ziyun Zhenren, little friend Ji, didn't you steal an egg before? How about I trade with you? 3 batches of beauty pills." Compared to the stewed prawn lotus leaf chicken, he wanted to eat the egg more. "Kai Xiaozhenjuan, Ji Xiaoxi, I'll trade with you. I also have some pills that you can use." Chapter 220. Margaret, I have a new curse talisman. General Billy, if you need a new cosmetic instrument, I can buy it for you. You don't have to beg Emmanuel. General Billy and Emmanuel were in the same interstellar plane, and the two of them were good friends. Ji Xiaoxi saw that everyone wanted to exchange the egg with her, and she felt that the egg was really a mythical beast's egg. Otherwise, why would these people exchange so many good things with her? So she was determined not to exchange. "Ji Xiaoxi, I'm sorry, everyone, but I also like this egg." Hearing Ji Xiaoxi's words, they didn't say anything more. "Ziyun Zhenren, what about the other things? Do you want to exchange?" Ji Xiaoxi didn't want to offend people, and the other things were all food. She didn't care about these things, so she agreed. The few people who exchanged the items were in a better mood. Speaking of which, the food of their group leader, the campus bell, was better, and it was good for them. The campus bell was kind and didn't care about every little thing. In comparison, they felt that it was better to make friends with people in the same realm. The people in this group were all in high realms, no matter which plane they were from, except for Ji Xiaoxi. Ji Xiaoxi was busy studying the egg and didn't notice that there was a group leader in this group. She hurriedly said goodbye to everyone and left the group. At this time, Tangguo appeared. Campus Belle, you're interested in food? Everyone said that they liked it very much. The food in their world was either extinct, or almost no one could make that kind of delicious food. Tangguo laughed. Campus Belle, it's fate that we're in the same group. If you're hungry in the future, you can come to me. I'm the group leader, so I should take care of you. The people in the group were touched and hurriedly said that they couldn't take Tangguo's benefits for free. Campus Belle, actually, I have a purpose. Maybe one day I'll come to your plane and ask you to take care of me. Suddenly, the group was quiet for a moment, and then it became lively again. People like Ziyun Zhenren were shocked. Could it be that this was a powerful person who could travel through space at will? It wasn't that they hadn't heard of this kind of person, but they had never seen one. General Billy, on the other hand, believed that Tangguo lived in a plane that was even more advanced than their galaxy. Her technology was so advanced that she could travel through space at will. As for Margaret, she was thinking that this person's spatial array skills had probably reached the level of a god. She revered this Campus Belle group leader even more. Tangguo didn't know what they were thinking. What she said was both true and false. She couldn't predict whether she would go to their world or not, but she had to take precautions. This was also the reason why she was interested in this group of planes. Then, she said goodbye to everyone. She still had a lot of things to deal with, so she couldn't keep wasting time in the group. When Tangguo opened her eyes, it was already dark. Thinking that there was spiritual power in this world, she began to cultivate according to a cultivation method she had obtained from a certain cultivation world. She slowly circulated the spiritual power to her face, repairing the damaged tissues under her skin. As for the surface, she did not care about that for the time being. After listening to Tangguo's words, the family Tang couple agreed when the Ma family offered some compensation and some benefits. Their daughter said that they had to lay low. They couldn't afford to provoke them now, so they had to preserve their strength and wait until the day when they could wipe out the Ma family in one fell swoop. In this way, Tangguo stayed in the hospital for half a month. The doctor said that she had recovered well. Except for the half-palm-sized scar on her face that couldn't be removed, everything else was normal. She could be discharged. Peak. Chapter 221. On Tuesday, Tangguo wore No. 1 middle school's uniform and refused the driver's offer to accompany her into the school. She walked into the school with half of her disfigured face. As soon as she appeared at the entrance of the school, she attracted the attention of countless people. Tangguo was famous in No. 1 middle school. She was beautiful, noble, and the goddess of all the boys. Therefore, they could not accept the fact that their goddess was disfigured. They all stared at her in disbelief. Tangguo. It was a boy in the class. He stared at Tangguo. How did this happen to you? Tangguo saw disappointment in his eyes. Was he disappointed because of her beautiful face? Tangguo stopped in front of him and glanced at him. Suddenly, a smile appeared on her face. It was an accident. Half a month ago, a lunatic poured sulfuric acid on me and ruined half of my face. Everyone was shocked when they heard Tangguo's understatement. Some of the girls who were originally gloating felt sorry for her. In their opinion, Tangguo's smile was a forced one. If she cried and looked dispirited, everyone would only sympathize with her. Moreover, her face was ugly and they would despise her. However, Tangguo walked in confidently from the beginning as if nothing had happened. Even if she lost her face, she was still the school belle of No. 1 middle school. This was something that no one present could do. The first thing they thought was that they would definitely be dispirited and would not continue to come back to school like Tangguo, as if nothing had happened. Therefore, they subconsciously ignored her face and felt some admiration for her. Then, they began to scold the person who poured sulfuric acid. It can't be helped. My family's background is not as good as the other parties. If we go head-to-head with the other party, my family will be unlucky. When asked if the other party had been arrested and punished, Tangguo replied like this. Even if that's the case, I can't be so desperate, right? Isn't it just a face? I don't believe that without this face, I can't continue to study in number 1 middle school with my brain. Everyone quickly shook their heads. School belle Tang was one of the top 3 in the cohort. Her brain was smarter than most people. Besides, she was the daughter of the family Tang family. Even if she stopped studying, her family still had to inherit the family property. No matter how bad she was, it couldn't be that bad. Another reason why the original owner of the body was ridiculed by everyone was because the family Tang dynasty had collapsed. Without any powerful backing, everyone would kick a man who was down. Now, the family Tang's strength was still the same as before, and might even be stronger in the future. Would the students of number 1 high school dare to offend her? Tang Guo walked all the way to grade 1, class 3. She was the center of attention. Her confident demeanor gave her a strong temperament that made people want to protect her. When Tang Guo arrived at grade 1, class 3, no one stared at her when she walked in. She smiled. It seemed that the effect was not bad. Everyone had the heart to follow the crowd. When these people found out that she was not too affected and was as strong as before, their sympathy turned into admiration. If someone were to laugh at her at this moment, she was sure that these people would drown that person with their saliva. The person who was most shocked was naturally Ji Xiaoxi. She later remembered this matter and panicked for a long time. When she met Ma Maro, she wanted to run away. However, Ma Maro stopped her and said that he was wrong. Ma Maro also said that it was lucky that he recognized the wrong person at that time. Otherwise, he would regret it for the rest of his life. He also said that the person looked too much like her. Otherwise, he would not have recognized the wrong person. But because of this, he stopped himself from making a mistake. When she saw Tang Guo, Ji Xiaoxi felt very guilty. Especially when she saw the hideous scar on the other party's face, her heart skipped a beat. The peak. Chapter 222. After class, the students in the class saw that Tang Guo did not seem to be traumatized. So, they began to ask her what happened. Tang Guo told them the truth. She said that she was walking on the street and someone bumped into her. Then, a lunatic rushed over and poured sulfuric acid on her. After that, the other party said that he mistook me for someone else. Tang Guo sneered. So, this is an undeserved disaster. As for the person who bumped into me, she was too fast. I didn't see her clearly. I don't know what kind of conflict she had with the boy. Which school is that boy from? Is he from number 1 middle school? Tang Guo laughed in her heart. She knew that these students would not let her down. He is from number 2 middle school. His name is Ma Maro. He is the only son of the Ma family. Her eyes dimmed. I can't afford to offend him. If not, I will send him to prison. This was in line with the original owner's character. She would never show mercy to those who offended her. Tang Guo had always been the most domineering girl in number 1 middle school. It was also because of her character that many people were attracted to her. When they heard that it was Ma Maro, they did not dare to ask any more questions. He was indeed someone that they could not afford to offend. A boy who was sleeping in the corner suddenly raised his head and stared at Tang Guo. His eyes fell on Tang Guo's face. Tang Guo smiled at him. What are you looking at? Have you never seen an ugly person before? The boy frowned and did not say anything. Tang Guo walked over to him and crossed her arms. She raised her eyebrows and leaned down. Didn't you always say that your grades are not good enough for me? Now that I am disfigured and your grades are not good, we both have shortcomings. Do you want to be a couple? This boy named Wei Yu was the one that the original owner of this body liked. The original owner of this body had confessed to him before. However, the other party did not respond. Wei Yu's family was not bad. However, he lost his mother when he was young. When his mother died, his father brought his illegitimate son back home. Because of that, the boy who was once a prodigy became a bad student. He was also known as the school bully in number 1 middle school. He was a mortal enemy of the 2nd Lieutenant Colonel Ma Maro. Why were they mortal enemies? It was a bit melodramatic. The woman that Father Wei brought back, the mother of the illegitimate child, had the surname Ma. This woman happened to be Ma Mao's father's younger sister, Ma Mao's aunt. How could it not be melodramatic? The class was very quiet. They were really worried for Campus Beltang. Whether it was in the past or now, Campus Beltang was someone they admired. This Wei Yu was someone as fierce as Ma Mao. Now that his face was disfigured, he still dared to provoke him and even said that they would be a couple. Wei Yu took a deep look at Tang Guo. He guessed that this woman was not normal after being disfigured. Therefore, he directly fell asleep on the table and ignored Tang Guo. Tang Guo did not leave. Instead, she sat beside him and nudged him. Why? Do you dislike it? At least I can still see half of your face. Isn't it the same after the lights are off? The students of Grade 1 Class 3. The campus bell was getting bolder. At first, Ji Xiaoxi was a little scared. Then, she felt relieved. Now that she saw that Tang Guo was still so beautiful, she could not take her eyes off her even after being disfigured. She did not feel good. She has a somewhat similar face, but Tang Guo's temperament can't be learned no matter how hard she tries. In this regard, the guilt in her heart had almost dissipated. She was still the daughter of the family belle. She was just disfigured. She was still alive and well. Her family was so rich. If Tang Guo knew what she was thinking, she would definitely not care about her image and scold her. Fuck you. You are still alive and well. The peak. Chapter 223. The students of Grade 1, Class 3 refused to let Beauty Tang take the initiative to sit next to Wei Yu. Although Beauty Tang's face was disfigured, they still admired her. What a good girl. Why didn't the heavens treat her well? Everyone in number 1 high school knew that Beauty Tang liked Wei Yu. They used to think that there was still some hope, but now, the probability was 0. However, no one used this to talk about it. They only thought that Beauty Tang was too depressed and wanted to find something to vent. What surprised them was that no matter how Tang Guo harassed Wei Yu only slept on his stomach. He didn't hit her or scold her. He just ignored her. Ji Xiaoxi was sure that Tang Guo didn't know that she was the one who knocked him down. She felt relieved. On a hot summer day, Tang Guo didn't forget to bring back a bottle for Wei Yu while drinking ice water. Such a considerate Beauty Tang still made the boys in the class envious of Wei Yu. So what if she was disfigured? Beauty Tang was still so outstanding that it made people's hair stand on end. Her elegance was still enough to make people ignore her face. When she smiled, she was still so beautiful. Ji Xiaoxi discovered a very scary thing. There were more people confessing to Tang Guo every day. She was jealous and panicked. In her eyes, Tang Guo was already comparable to a peerless enchantress. Without her face, she was still so liked. She couldn't understand why. Tang Guo sat in her seat and opened the love letters one by one in boredom. She even read them out in a low voice. There were still many talents in number 1 high school. The love letters they wrote still had some charm to them. The system was already used to its host's occasional fits. This habit of reading love letters every day was already a very good habit. But he didn't understand. Host, didn't you say that people look at faces? Why do so many people like you? Even he felt that the scar on the right side of Tang Guo's face was really scary. When the boys saw Tang Guo's shy and moved look, he was completely dumbfounded. Because my charm is enough to make them ignore my face. System, I don't understand. Of course you don't understand. A girl who is confident, charismatic, has good grades, and has a noble temperament, other than half of her face being ruined, is very attractive in the eyes of men. The better I am now, the more I will only cherish the scars on my face, not hate them. I will only hate the culprit. If that person didn't exist, I would be even better. The system thought to itself, heavens, humans are still so complicated. Even though I've traveled through so many worlds with the host, he still doesn't understand. Wasn't it all about looks? Now, she no longer looked at his face. Tang Guo was too lazy to explain the complexity of human nature and turned to continue reading the love letter. The high and low tones made Wei Yu, who was sleeping at the side, extremely irritated. What are you trying to do? Wei Yu glared at Tang Guo. I won't agree to it. Tang Guo put away the love letter and looked up with a dazzling smile on her face. You obviously like me. Why don't you admit it? You think too much. Really? Then why don't you reject me, say that you hate me, say that I'm ugly, and say that you can never like me? Come on, let's hurt each other. Wei Yu stood up and frowned. He looked down at Tang Guo and threatened her fiercely. The girls in the class were all very afraid. Move back to your seat. Tang Guo frowned. Why don't you like me? Wei Yu pursed his lips and didn't say anything. Why didn't he like her? He thought for a while and really couldn't find a reason. If he didn't like her, then he didn't like her. Why were there so many reasons? Of course it's because you're ugly. Peek. Chapter 224. Beauty Tang, do you really think you're still the school beauty? You have half an ugly face, yet you're still interested in getting close to Brother Wei. Don't you find it embarrassing? A girl dressed like a delinquent walked in from outside the classroom and sized up Tang Guo. You're disfigured, so don't pester our Brother Wei. Brother Wei's grades aren't good, but that's all he has. He has a good family background and is handsome. Why would he be with an ugly monster like you? These words were very vicious. The students in the class looked at the girl and were very angry, but they didn't dare to do anything. This girl was a female hooligan and had quite a bit of power. They couldn't afford to offend her. Is it like what she said? Do you think I'm ugly? Tang Guo ignored the delinquent and met Wei Yu's gaze. Is that so? Wei Yu looked at the delinquent, clenched his fists, and gently pushed Tang Guo away. Without saying a word, he walked out. Hey, Wei Yu, at least say something and let me give up. Tang Guo looked at Wei Yu's back with a smile, making him feel like he was running away in panic. Are you a man or not? If you're a man, then say it clearly. Otherwise, you'll be my boyfriend. Wei Yu didn't say anything. He didn't know why, but he wanted to directly reject her. He would never be with her. He wanted to say that it was because she was ugly. But just as the words were about to come out of his mouth, he couldn't open his mouth. Of course, he didn't want to be with her not because she was ugly. Whether it was the previous Tang Guo or the current Tang Guo, he didn't see her face clearly. It was the same to him. There was no benefit in being with a hooligan like him. Wei Yu, you're indeed not a man. Wei Yu stopped in his tracks, but he still didn't say anything. He felt that as long as he said that he didn't want to be with her and agreed with the delinquent girl that she was ugly, his heart would be empty and he would regret it for the rest of his life. Wei Yu thought for a long time but couldn't think of a specific reason. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration. If he rejected and admitted that she was ugly, she might take it too hard. Yes, that must be the reason. If she took things too hard and jumped off a building, he would definitely regret it for the rest of his life. Wei Yu, who had figured it out, ignored Tang Guo. He even looked at ease, as if he didn't agree or refuse, and let her guess for herself. Tang Guo's smile was a little stiff. This was the first time she had met such an uncommunicative person. She had just dug a hole, but the other party had jumped into it without any communication. It seemed that he had no intention of falling into it. The system laughed secretly. Host, do you feel like you've met your match? The other party didn't fall for it. I know what you're planning. It's nothing more than making Wei Yu admit that he doesn't want to be with you, saying that he despises you for being ugly, and then making him regret it for the rest of his life. Haha, I guessed it. Tang Guo, Wei Yu doesn't seem to be fooled. Tang Guo pursed her lips. She had indeed met an opponent, but how did he know her plan? She narrowed her eyes and paused in the direction where Wei Yu had disappeared for a long time. She didn't have any dislike for Wei Yu. As for confessing to him, it was just that she had inherited the feelings of the original body. Wei Yu hadn't done anything to let down the original body. They weren't a couple. It was different from what the system said. She simply wanted Wei Yu to reject her. Then, she could give up on the feelings of the original body and cause trouble on her own. This time, she really wasn't taking revenge or anything. But this Wei Yu seemed to be very strange. He was so stubborn that she couldn't achieve her goal. After the system knew the truth, it cursed again. It had guessed wrong. The host's thoughts could never be guessed. Peak. Chapter 225. Host, have you ever thought about what if Wei Yu agrees? You're not riding a tiger and can't get off. You originally wanted to end this unrequited love, but he agreed. Ha ha ha, I kind of want to see you lose yourself. However, the system was destined to be disappointed. Tang Guo was serious and even had a smile on her face. That's pretty good. I've inherited his feelings, and he likes me. Isn't it good for us to be together? As long as this Wei Yu treats me well enough, I promise that I'll only like him for the rest of my life and only treat him well. System, fuck, it's here again. That broken host is here again. Forget it, I don't want to care about Wei Yu anymore. Let's do other things first. Tang Guo gave up on the purpose of solving this unrequited love and turned to think about other things. Recently, she had been communicating with the people in the group. During this time, other group members appeared one after another and also accepted that their group had a group leader. Ji Xiaoxi also knew that there was a group leader, but she didn't think too much about it. She only hoped that this group leader would be like the others and bring her benefits. The bad thing was that recently, the people in the group didn't like her food very much for some reason. Many times, she tempted them with food, but they showed a lack of interest. She didn't know that when she wasn't in the group, Tang Guo had already used the food she collected to feed the people in the group. The food that Tang Guo took was delicious and beneficial. It was also provided by the group leader for free. How could the food in Ji Xiaoxi's hands compare to it? Ji Xiaoxi was not satisfied. She pestered a few people who were more familiar with her to exchange food for what she needed. Only then did she heave a sigh of relief. She didn't know that these people were very dissatisfied. The school bell group leader took out such good food and didn't ask them to exchange. In fact, they were very willing to exchange. They were embarrassed to always eat the group leader's food. Later, they would occasionally find good things and send them to Tang Guo in the form of red packets. Tang Guo didn't refuse. She knew what these people were thinking, so she accepted it. Otherwise, they wouldn't feel at ease eating it. That would be detrimental to her plan. Her plan was to let the people in the group know Ji Xiaoxi's selfish side and let them stand by and do nothing to Ji Xiaoxi in the future. Without the help of these people, she didn't need to do anything. Ji Xiaoxi would seek her own death. This was a person who was dissatisfied. She was extremely self-abased and vain. She originally thought that she could reach the sky in a single step, relying on external help for everything. When she lost these things, who knew what kind of scene it would be? Since Ji Xiaoxi had disfigured the original body, then she would snatch away what Ji Xiaoxi valued the most. It was just a matter of getting back and forth. Ji Xiaoxi was still immersed in the benefits she had received. She had no idea that the people in the group were dissatisfied with her. They thought that she was not tactful and greedy. She was indeed sick in the secular world. Why did they feel that Ji Xiaoxi was pure and cute? To hell with it. Ji Xiaoxi was still waiting for the egg to hatch. A month later, there was a strange smell in her room. Finally, she realized that the smell came from the egg. Ji Xiaoxi, everyone, what egg is that? Why does it stink? So far, Ji Xiaoxi didn't think that it was the egg that was broken. She was just afraid that it was some kind of demonic beast and not a divine beast. Tang Guo also happened to be scrolling through the group. When she saw this message, she burst out laughing. She can't be thinking that this egg can be hatched and is still keeping it, right? Peak. Chapter 226. System. Host, stop pretending. You polished the surface of those eggs so smooth. Didn't you want Ji Xiaoxi to misunderstand that they can be hatched? You're so bad. Does your mother know? Does your father know? Does your man know? I don't have a man. Wei Yu. Tang Guo, she had a headache. This Wei Yu was really stubborn. She didn't want to pester him anymore. Anyway, she couldn't get a result. After she finished what she wanted to do, she would leave this world. She didn't know why, but she felt a little regretful when she passed by in a hurry. Thinking of the previous worlds, she sneered. In the end, she was still greedy for other people's love. Host, if you lack love, then choose another target. There are still many outstanding men in this world. With your means, they will eagerly come to pamper you. Tang Guo was speechless. What do you think I am? I inherited the feelings of the original owner. If Wei Yu doesn't firmly refuse, these feelings won't disappear. Besides, Wei Yu is the only one who is pleasing to the eye. Hehe, pleasing to the eye. You want to control the feelings, but you can control them as you wish. Isn't it just this dog of a host's bad taste? The group was still chatting because Ji Xiaoxi had called everyone one by one. Ziyun Zhenren, what egg? Ji Xiaoxi, it's the egg that I snatched from the group leader's red packet. I've been keeping it, but today I found that it stinks. It stinks because it's been stored for a month. Ji Xiaoxi didn't suspect that the egg was cooked at all. How would she know that it stinks because the energy in the egg has been lost? The corner of Ziyun Zhenren's mouth twitched. He felt that Ji Xiaoxi was really stupid. Didn't the egg stink after being stored for a month? Kai Xiao Zhenren, although the food sent by the group leader is delicious, Ji Xiaoxi, you don't have to store an egg for a month. It would be strange if it didn't spoil after a month. Devil Sect Master, I have to say, that egg is really delicious. Fortunately, I came back early and grabbed the last one. It's really delicious. Ji Xiaoxi, you should eat the food sent by the group leader. You don't have a special preservation method. It won't work after a long time. Ji Xiaoxi was dumbfounded. That egg is cooked. Is it edible? It wasn't a divine beast. Tang Guo could already imagine Ji Xiaoxi's expression at this moment. She sat in her seat and let out a low laugh, causing Wei Yu, who was sitting at the same table, to look over. When he saw her, he was a little stunned. Even if there was an ugly scar, it still couldn't hide her elegance. When Tang Guo noticed him, she hurriedly lay down and pretended to be asleep. Too stupid, ha ha ha. System, she was a little stupid, and she was the female lead. Why was she so stupid? He couldn't imagine how the eggs would stink after a month. However, it was fine as long as the host was happy. As long as the host was happy, his energy would increase after leaving this world. Lose her moral integrity? Was integrity more important than energy? Ji Xiaoxi, group leader, are you there? Was this egg really cooked? Ji Xiaoxi didn't quite believe it. She still wanted to confirm it. Tang Guo appeared at the right time and told Ji Xiaoxi the truth. Campus bell, you still have it. She looked like she didn't know the truth, which made the system curse several times. A host with schizophrenia was really scary. Ji Xiaoxi was basically sure that the egg was cooked. She smashed the smelly egg open. Suddenly, a strange smell spread throughout the room. She almost fainted from the smell. Campus bell, right, since it's broken, quickly deal with it. Don't smash it open. When Ji Xiaoxi saw this message, she had a bad premonition. Ji Xiaoxi, I already smashed it open. Top point. Chapter 227. When she heard that Ji Xiaoxi had already broken the egg, Tang Guo was a little stunned. Was she a fool? Everyone had told her that the egg was spoiled, so why did she have to break it? System, maybe she's used to picking up cheap things and thinks that even if it's spoiled, it's still a good thing. Heh. Tang Guo couldn't help but smile happily. Her deskmate Wei Yu's expression was a little indescribable. From his angle, he only saw Tang Guo supporting her chin with one hand and smiling foolishly with her eyes closed, as if she was having a good dream. Tang Guo felt his gaze and suddenly opened her eyes. The two of them looked at each other. Are you looking at me? Tang Guo didn't stop smiling and leaned over. Do you have a crush on me? Wei Yu, there's no such thing. Wei Yu met those beautiful eyes and quickly shifted his gaze elsewhere. Don't think too much, or I'll think you're delusional. You must have a crush on me. Wei Yu, it's okay if you don't admit it, I know. Tang Guo sat up straight and glanced at Ji Xiaoxi's empty seat. It was noon, and Ji Xiaoxi's house wasn't far from here, only 10 minutes away. Her family wasn't rich, So she went home to eat every day. Because she was scrolling through the group and saw Ji Xiaoxi's stupid behavior in the group, she was happy that she didn't go to the cafeteria. What made her feel strange was that Wei Yu, who would leave his seat immediately after class, didn't leave. Host, since he's not interested in you, you should let him go and treat it as a good thing. Tang Guo smiled. You don't understand, he really has a crush on me. Really? The system was a little uncertain. It scanned Wei Yu but still couldn't find anything. You don't believe me? The system didn't say anything. It really didn't believe her. Wei Yu's heartbeat was normal, and his host didn't show any strange expressions. It didn't seem like he liked the host. Then I'll open your eyes. The system's heart trembled. Was the host going to do something bad? After saying that, Tang Guo lay on the table and pretended to be asleep. Her bright smile disappeared and her face turned pale. This series of actions caused the system to be stunned. What was the host trying to do? She was holding it in until her face turned pale and she was pretending to be in pain. Did she think that a blockhead like Wei Yu would come over and comfort her? Even if he was comforting her, it didn't mean that he had a crush on her. The system didn't say anything, indicating that it would continue watching. Wei Yu was a little puzzled. Why did the girl who was laughing just now suddenly fall asleep on the table? However, he didn't mind. He stood up and walked out of the classroom. God knows why he didn't leave the classroom after class recently. It was simply inexplicable. He strode out of the classroom, just like before. System, host, I think your judgment this time is. Before he could finish the word wrong, he saw Wei Yu quickly walk back and look at Tang Guo for a while. System, he chose not to speak. He really couldn't understand the complicated hearts of humans. Hey! Wei Yu nudged Tang Guo. You're not eating. Good students don't have the energy to go to class in the afternoon if they don't eat. System, calm down. This definitely wasn't Wei Yu. He must have been seen through. Tang Guo raised her head slightly, and a smile appeared on her slightly pale face. You have a crush on me. I guessed right. Wei Yu wanted to leave, but he didn't move. His brows were furrowed so much that they were about to kill a fly. Looking at that pale face, he took a deep breath and didn't argue with this delusional person. Are you sick? Peak. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.